Imagine you died crossing the road because some middle-aged man was listening to the new Charlie Kirk song blasting at max in his truck, only to be reincarnated as Charlie Holmes. If you want to see how it goes, then this manhwa is just for you. So without further delay, let's begin our recap. An unfamiliar landscape stretches before her, strange people, strange sounds, and an even stranger version of herself reflected in their eyes. A man in a mask walks ahead, telling someone unseen that they have awakened in a new world, and what awaits them could be anything. She turns instinctively, only to find a puppet. It announces in a mournful tone that its wife entered a contract marriage and ran away. Another voice chimes in, declaring that his wife divorced him and fled. A third claims his wife simply misunderstood him and vanished into the night. All three plead for the same thing. They want the bewildered female protagonist to find their wives. She can only stare, wondering what sort of absurd nonsense she has fallen into. Before she can question the surreal scene any further, the ground splits beneath her. A pit yawns open, and she plunges down into darkness while the masked man calls after her, calling her Celia. The world tears apart. The next moment, sirens wail in a modern street. An ambulance flashes past. The familiar script of every transmigration cliché unfolds, and she recognizes it with cold clarity. She is that protagonist. She is the orphan with no roots, drifting from one place to another, working herself to the bone, dying quietly and unnoticed. Moments before her death, every web novel she ever devoured had surged through her consciousness, stories, soft and gentle, because she always feared the possibility of waking up inside one. She had dreaded becoming the heroine thrown into danger, conflict, or some unpredictable fantasy universe. She remembers imagining the possibilities. Perhaps she would open her eyes as a noble lady in a romance fantasy, or a hunter in a world of beasts, or someone guided by constellations, or even the heroine of a scandalously steamy modern romance. She expected one of those. Yet when she opens her eyes again, she does not find silk sheets or a glowing status window above her head. Instead, she stands before a mirror inside an unfamiliar office, greeted by a mechanical voice. The system congratulates agency director Celia for taking her first step into her new life. Celia. The name means nothing to her. She racks her mind, but she has never heard it before. Whose body has she stepped into? Judging by the plain room, the mismatched furniture, and the faint smell of dust, she is certainly no noblewoman in a glittering romance fantasy. Her gaze drifts across the room until she spots a nameplate and a business license on the desk. Undeniable proof that she is, indeed, the boss of something. She moves closer, hoping for clarity, and her eyes catch a bouquet of blue roses resting neatly beside a stack of documents. Attached to them is a letter, a simple note offering congratulations on the opening of her agency, sent by someone who clearly misses her. She inhales sharply. Is this the fate of a background character? The one who grovels as the protagonist's lackey, the one who gets beaten like a neighborhood punching bag, threatened like an informant, and after all that humiliation earns barely 500 coins for her trouble? The system chimes again, confirming her fears. Her efforts have earned her 500 cash, and she has unlocked a new mission. The scene shifts once more, opening upon a shadowed carriage pulled by a pair of black horses. Its door creaks open, and a man steps out, his presence so heavy it seems to thicken the air around him. Meanwhile, Celia, still staring at the cluttered interior of her so-called agency, mutters inwardly that being the head of an agency feels painfully lame. But the more she thinks about it, the more it resembles one of those live-action web novel experience zones, except she is the unfortunate soul being forced to participate. A sudden knock jolts her out of her brooding. She turns, only to find a mysterious figure standing in the entrance. He is dressed impeccably, a stark contrast to her dusty, half-functional office. His eyes, however, look utterly lifeless, vacant, eerie, and unsettling. Before she can even gather her thoughts, the system screen appears, informing her that the agency director's first case has arrived. This man, with his dead eyes and suffocating aura, is her first client. She scrambles to present him with something, anything, and ends up offering the only thing in sight, a cup of crusty, musty tea that looks as though it has been there since the building's construction. She apologizes internally even as she pushes it forward. The man studies the pathetic cup with thinly veiled disgust. He claims this agency was the only place he could turn to for help, but the reception leaves him unimpressed. Celia blurts out that she is new here too, and she has no idea where anything is yet. Trying to salvage the situation, she brightens and asks almost too eagerly what his case is. He drops a set of papers onto her desk. The assignment is brutally simple. Find a woman. She stares at the page, bewildered. What woman? Why her? Why this? He answers without emotion. It is Chelsea. Chelsea has informed him that they are getting a divorce. Back in the present moment, the man mutters darkly under his breath. That foolish woman dared to leave him without permission. Celia feels her stomach twist. That expression, cold, intense, suffocating, belongs to a man she never wants to be involved with, ever. He declares that 1 week should be more than enough time for her to find the runaway woman. She freezes. 1 week? For a missing person? In a world she doesn't understand? He adds that he will leave a down payment, but if she fails to find his wife, he will make certain she never sees the morning sun again. The system instantly chimes. Mission: locate the missing wife of Marquis Gray. Reward: 10,000 cash. Failure result: wrath of the regretful male lead. Her face crumples. Isn't this impossibly cruel for a first quest? Besides, nothing about that man resembles a regretful male lead. He is a fully developed psychopath. She collapses onto the worn sofa with a despairing sigh. Everything about this novel feels unfamiliar. Just judging by that man's deranged personality, the story must be wild, unhinged, and probably dangerous. A long, awkward silence fills the room before she finally forces herself upright. She tells herself she can overcome this. She has read countless runaway wife novels. The female lead always gets caught eventually. Somehow she always ends up back with the male lead. But then reality crashes down on her. She has no idea what the original story even is. How is she supposed to find a woman she has never met in a plot she has never read? Before the panic can sink deeper, a golden light bursts open before her. The system informs her that she has unlocked the library. She may choose a book to read. The current collection contains only one title, the original novel itself. The screen asks if she would like to read episode 1. Her available cash: 500. The contracted Marchioness's divorce begins as a novel in which Chelsea, after the death of her parents, falls under the guardianship of her uncle. What should have been protection reveals itself as a calculated scheme. Her uncle's true intention is to seize her inheritance, and he succeeds in stripping her of everything she owns. The only path left for her to escape that suffocating household and stand on her own 2 feet is to accept a marriage of convenience. Thus, she enters a contract marriage with a marquis who is urgently seeking a bride for the sake of his ailing mother. Chelsea expects nothing from this union, only a bleak and loveless coexistence designed for mutual benefit. Yet their quiet days together take on an unexpected warmth. Despite the marquis's cold and aged exterior, a subtle companionship begins to bloom. She bakes cookies for him, a gesture he gradually learns to anticipate, alongside his customary after-meal tea. Under the wide summer sky, they lie back to count constellations, and within those moments, they begin to trust each other. To her astonishment and relief, the marquis accepts her presence without suspicion, even going so far as to entrust her with the family jewels. Although their marriage is founded solely on a contract, she finds herself hesitating at the edges of a dream she has never dared to voice. Perhaps, she wonders, the family she longed for all her life was quietly forming around her. Perhaps the happiness she waited for had been here all along. That fragile hope shatters the day the marquis's mother passes away. Chelsea approaches him then, prepared to honor the original terms of their agreement. She believes he no longer needs her, for the contract was meant to last only until his mother's final breath. Now that the condition has been fulfilled, she steels herself to depart, but the marquis pulls her into his hold, refusing to release her. He sees her attempt to leave as a rejection, as if she is discarding him now that their arrangement is technically complete. Everything within the mansion falls under his authority, and without his permission, she cannot step beyond its walls. He intends to keep her by his side, whether or not the contract has ended. Celia, who is reading this novel, gasps aloud because the story is simply too captivating. She cannot help but giggle at the marquis, who embodies every trait of an obsessive male lead in classic literature. If she reads only a little further, she will discover where Chelsea runs after attempting to escape. This first case seems almost too easy for her. All she needs to do is continue reading. But the system interrupts her. The screen informs her that she has insufficient cash and that she must wait an entire day for the next free chapter. She stares in disbelief, wondering what it even means to run out of cash at such a crucial moment. Frustration surges through her. and she feels the urge to shout at the system for mocking her when she was so close to uncovering Chelsea's destination. As her outrage fills the air, the screen flickers and activates something called the cash charging station, leaving her suspicious that the setup resembles a kind of insurance scam. Yet the station claims to be a place where she can acquire more cash, insisting that every great detective must pound the pavement to solve a case. With no other choice, she resolves to search for any useful clue that might help her crack this case more quickly. Here is a pro tip the system gives her. She can earn more cash only at locations deeply connected to her case, and the place with the greatest connection is undeniably the marquis' estate. She needs to head there immediately. Now that she finally stands inside her charging station, she realizes she has entered the Marchioness's room, the private quarters of the female protagonist, and a reward of 1,000 cash appears as a first entry bonus. The butler informs her that the marquis instructed him to cooperate fully with her investigation, and he urges her to call for him should she require anything further. She drops her bag, concluding that investigating the marquis' estate is the surest path to gathering more cash. Her mind begins to race as she wonders where she should begin, and she starts surveying every corner of the room. She reaches the window where the couple once sat side by side watching the stars, and the system awards her 200 cash. Then her gaze shifts to the teacup the couple often shared, and it grants her another 200 coins. The unbreakable law of romantic cliches echoes in her mind. Contract couples always fall in love. She wonders aloud whether somewhere in this room a larger trove of cash might be hidden. When she opens one of the drawers, she finds a letter shoved aside as if someone deliberately avoided reading it, and this discovery grants her 700 cash. The letter contains a brief message stating that peaches have been sent and that the sender requests a reply regarding whether cherries are needed. It also conveys the Viscount's desire for an answer and orders her to visit the Larman estate at once. Celia immediately thinks of Chelsea's maiden family. For a simple check-in, the letter feels far too short, the tone far too stiff, almost as though the writer is commanding a subordinate. Chelsea had entered a contract marriage specifically to escape her family, yet she still appeared to be in contact with them. Celia ponders this contradiction as she considers the implications. Her eyes then drift toward the large sofa, and without hesitation, she throws herself onto it. The sensation is almost heavenly, an entirely different world from the old junk furniture at her office. As she revels in her well-earned moment of comfort, the maids suddenly enter the room. Their expressions are filled with confusion because they had heard the detective was present but had not realized she was already inside. Celia, flustered and embarrassed, urges them to come in, mortified by the situation unfolding before them. One of the maids notices something else and expresses concern over why an item appears so dusty and wonders if it is being discarded. The system flashes a warning, stating that the item may be life-threatening. Celia is baffled by this ominous alert, while the maid discusses whether they should inspect the contents. Without giving them the chance, Celia lunges forward and snatches the box away, insisting, at least through her actions, that she will dispose of it herself. The maids watch in disbelief as she darts out of the room, practically flying down the corridor. Once out of sight, she hides and checks whether anyone is following her. The question repeating in her mind is what on earth could be inside the box that warrants a life-threatening warning. Just as she is about to open it, the system notifies her that she has found 800 cash within, and the box also contains seeds. She proceeds into the Marchioness's adjoining room and receives another 500 cash as a location reward. Hoping for more leads, she asks the maids if they remember anything that could help her. Internally, she begs for a clue, any clue, that might guide her toward a larger cache of cash. The maids recount what they know. The Marchioness loved fruit, and her maiden family used to send fruit frequently. They recall that the Marchioness and the head of the household would often share the fruit in the greenhouse. She had been deeply fond of tending to the greenhouse, but after the head passed away, she began eating the fruit from her maiden family alone. She stopped sharing it with the staff, even though she once used to. Before Celia can ask further, another maid rushes in to announce that it is lunchtime. All the maids immediately sprint toward the kitchen with remarkable speed, leaving Celia impressed by their dedication to mealtime. She reflects on the story about the fruit and senses that something significant transpired between the Marchioness and Chelsea. She discovers another 500 cash inside a handwritten gardening notebook. As she pulls the notebook out, the moment her eyes fall upon the note inside, they widen in shock. The letters addressed to Chelsea reveal the Marchioness's heartfelt wish. She intends to pass down her beloved greenhouse to the girl she cherishes most. Every herb, flower, and tree she has gathered throughout her lifetime is meant for Chelsea, because the Marchioness believes she will care for them better than anyone else. Celia has already finished clearing the late Marchioness's room, and the bond between Chelsea and the Marchioness remains as close and tender as that of a true mother and daughter. Yet the meaning of the greenhouse and the significance behind her mother-in-law's final wish are still mysteries Chelsea has not yet begun to understand. Celia, however, cannot make sense of any of it. In the original story, Chelsea had clearly adored the Marchioness, so why would she abandon such a precious inheritance and flee? The possibility that Chelsea disliked the greenhouse does not convince her. Then she receives an unexpected quiz, a system prompt confirming that she has correctly uncovered one of the two causes behind Chelsea's escape. Her options, the greenhouse, the box of seeds, or the homemade cookies, flash before her. Cookies alone are never threatening enough to make anyone run away, and although the greenhouse is suspicious, it lacks the weight of a true catalyst. Therefore, the most reasonable answer is the box of seeds. When the system confirms her choice, she earns 500 cash, yet she remains thoughtful, wondering why there are two causes at all. Had she overlooked another clue entirely? A voice suddenly reaches her, remarking on how strangely calm she looks. When she turns, she finds herself face to face with the marquis. In that instant, she realizes she has discovered the second cause. Of course, it must be him. The regretful male lead undeniably plays a role in Chelsea's desperate decision to run. The marquis, noticing her expression, grits his teeth, radiating hostility, as though he believes she has far too much free time, enough to waste wandering into places she should never step foot in, places that ought to remain forever untouched by sunlight. Yet before he can drive her out, she halts the moment with a plea to allow her to investigate his room. The request visibly irritates him, leaving a faint twitch across his expression, but she presses forward. The system immediately responds, awarding her 800 cash for entering the male lead's private estate. She is struck with disbelief at the unexpectedly high difficulty level of his room, only to see the danger level rise even further because she is accompanied by the master of the estate himself. In other words, if she makes even the slightest misstep, anything that might anger him, her life could easily be forfeit. The marquis stands beside her in an aura of gloom, granting her reluctant permission to search. If she has something she wishes to uncover, then she may proceed and attempt to find it, though the entire atmosphere warns her that the price of failure may be far greater than she can afford. She moves carefully through the room, her eyes drifting across shelves, drawers, and shadowed corners. The marquis watches her with thinly veiled irritation, remarking inwardly that she has come all this way merely to glance around. He had assumed she would at least possess the audacity to dig through confidential documents. In truth, she would love nothing more than to rummage through such forbidden materials, but she restrains herself for one important reason. She would prefer not to be killed. Celia instead considers what she can safely ask, wondering aloud whether the madam had any particular habits or cherished belongings. The marquis pauses, thinking it over, before recalling that Chelsea enjoyed fruit. She always ate the fruit her maternal family sent her. Later, she even told him not to touch any of it. The system rewards Celia once again, granting her 600 cash for the detail about the table where unwanted food was discarded. Still, everything feels off to her. If Chelsea did not even like the fruit, why would she continue eating it? And why forbid anyone else from tasting it? Celia remains thoughtful, pondering the contradiction, until the memory of the seeds rises within her mind. Turning toward the marquis, she asks whether Chelsea ever behaved strangely with the fruit, such as collecting the seeds. The slight twitch in his expression confirms her suspicion. She cannot help smirking. She has found another thread. The seeds are from the larminga fruit, and the connection between the fruit and the greenhouse feels unmistakable now. She then considers whether she might be allowed to examine the greenhouse. The system grants her another 100 points, this time for a book Chelsea lingered over all day without once meeting the marquis's eyes, and also for the cookies she gifted him, cookies he never ate, and for the wedding ring placed quietly in the corner of the desk. The marquis grants permission to visit the greenhouse, though he notes that the timing is somewhat inconvenient. Before he can step away, he notices Celia watching him closely. Her expression prompts him to question why she is looking at him like that. She wonders aloud why he removed his wedding ring. He counters with a clipped question of whether he truly must explain himself. Celia answers that she simply thought it might be connected to Chelsea's shift in behavior, but if the topic discomforts him, he is free to leave it unspoken. A long silence settles between them before he finally responds. He removed the ring because he wanted to give her something better. Their marriage had been arranged so abruptly that he had no time to prepare a proper ring for her. Despite that, she still called that plain ring beautiful. Recently, a pink diamond had been mined from the quarry, and he believed it would suit Chelsea perfectly, so he arranged for it to be crafted into her new wedding ring. Listening to him, Celia realizes how easily Chelsea must have misunderstood him. Of course she would believe his affection had faded when he suddenly stopped wearing his ring. Celia tells him plainly that Chelsea must have been heartbroken to see it gone. He scoffs, dismissing the idea, insisting that he removed it only because he was not planning to wear it, so it should not matter. Celia inwardly scoffs back. Chelsea never knew his reasoning. Her mission may be to locate his missing wife, but the one responsible for mending Chelsea's wounded heart is him. She hopes he understands that, and that he will have an honest conversation with Chelsea when she returns. Her words silence him completely. Celia cannot help thinking she looked impressively cool for a moment. Then the system flashes across her vision, congratulating her for raising her rank to D. She has unlocked a new feature and has been nominated for something, though she decides she will examine it properly once she has time. She has earned enough cash for the moment. With a confident smirk, she declares to herself that it is time to return to reading the original story. One of the scenes in that book is chilling. Chelsea desperately thinking that she must flee, convinced that she is unforgivable, coughing blood as the weight of her fate suffocates her. Chelsea returns to her room after the long day, and it becomes painfully clear that it has been more than a month since she last tasted any fruit. The deprivation presses against the limits of her endurance. She has never gone this long before, and she can feel with chilling certainty that she does not have much time left. If this continues, she senses that her body will soon fail her. She tries to steady herself, but before she can fully dwell on her deteriorating condition, the marquis calls out to her, his voice cutting through her thoughts with concern. She insists that nothing is wrong, claiming she merely stepped away to wash her hands and nothing more. Yet he studies her pale expression closely, and when he takes her face in his hands, he concludes inwardly that she does not appear well at all. She forces herself to answer that she only feels a little cold, and she silently wishes for warmth, asking if he could hold her. He gathers her into his arms with exasperated tenderness, and she senses the contradiction in him as he embraces her. Chelsea thinks to herself that their marriage is destined to poison them both, that both of them know it too well, and that this is the very reason he ultimately betrayed the ring. He must believe that it is acceptable after all, for from the very beginning, there was never any possibility that he could be sincere with her. Yet even so, the warmth she now rests against stirs something fragile inside her. The marquis maintains his steady composure, as he decides that he will summon the physician the following day to ensure she is properly examined, and she stores this promise quietly in her heart. Chelsea privately hopes, perhaps foolishly, that all of this warmth is real, even if only for a moment. She resolves inwardly that on the night of the next full moon, she will go to the harbor, for on that day she intends to leave this place for good. Meanwhile, Celia receives an emergency mission. She is instructed to head immediately to the Lapward harbor and prevent Chelsea from escaping. As she departs in her carriage, she reflects in frustration that of all the possible days, it has to be the night of a full moon. She wonders anxiously whether she can reach the harbor in time. It had already been too late to inform the marquis, so she had run out the door without a second thought, relying only on urgency and instinct. Yet Chelsea's condition is far worse than Celia ever imagined. Since the very beginning, the fruit Chelsea was fed at the Viscount estate had been laced with a slow-acting poison. Now that Chelsea has stopped consuming it, her body is breaking down under the strain. The Viscount's household had used this poison to keep Chelsea bound beneath their heels, dependent and weakened, unable to defy them. Celia fears that Chelsea's state might already be beyond help. She had originally believed that all she needed to do was clear up the misunderstanding with the marquis and resolve the situation cleanly. But now, as the carriage rushes across the moonlit road, Celia realizes with growing dread that the truth is far more dire than she ever expected. Celia wonders frantically what she is supposed to do about the poison. All she ever wanted was to relax and enjoy a peaceful, romantic fantasy life. But nothing proves easy, not even for a moment. As her anxiety rises, a glowing screen abruptly appears before her, announcing a welcome to the Start Boost shop, a feature of the new system that has only just been released. She studies it with suspicion, feeling that it resembles the kind of healing potion shops games present right before a disastrous beast fight, as though foreshadowing incoming trouble. The system offers a sale, and without hesitation, she decides that she will purchase everything available. She does exactly that, buying an excessive amount of supplies before the scene cuts away. The view shifts to the harbor, where Chelsea stands quietly among the crowd as they gather to board. A harbor worker urges everyone to hurry and get on the boat already. Chelsea takes a step forward, but before she can move any farther, a hand taps her shoulder. She turns to see Celia, who is disguised convincingly as a man. Celia remarks that Chelsea had not seemed well earlier, and adds that if she has left anything behind, she is free to return for it. Chelsea reflects aloud, half admitting, half denying, that perhaps she may have forgotten something bad, or perhaps something else entirely, though she ultimately insists that there is nothing of significance left behind. Celia becomes overwhelmed with uncertainty. She has no idea what she should do next, or what could possibly change Chelsea's mind. She knows how close Chelsea and the late Marchioness once were, nearly identical to a real mother and daughter, and she begins to wonder whether this bond is the key she needs. With that thought, she reminds Chelsea that there must be things in her life, things fragile and irreplaceable, that will wither the moment she walks away. She questions whether Chelsea is truly prepared to abandon all of that and simply vanish from her own life. Chelsea responds with confusion, asking what Celia means. Celia continues her attempt, insisting that the ship will return in time, but time itself will not return, and she hopes Chelsea will not do something she will one day regret. She notes inwardly that this style of lecturing, sentimental reasoning, feels strangely like the kind of emotional tactic her husband excels at. Chelsea offers Celia a quiet thank you before she steps away. Celia tries to determine whether that counts as success. Yet immediately the atmosphere shifts when someone informs Chelsea that she cannot simply walk off like that. The tension around them thickens, and several workers mutter that the atmosphere has already become dangerous with those sharks, likely unsavory individuals, showing up for work. They decide it is better to let Chelsea go rather than draw any unwanted attention, fearing that if the wrong people notice them, they will not even have bones left to bury afterward. Celia listens and wonders what exactly they are referring to. She pulls off her hat, finally able to breathe again. She has succeeded, at least for now, in stopping Chelsea from boarding the ship. All that remains is to resolve the misunderstanding between Chelsea and the marquis, after which the story should reach its happy ending. But as Celia thinks further, she begins to fear what will become of her once the story concludes. After she patches up the relationship between the two of them, what role will remain for her? What is she supposed to do afterward? Even if she returns to the real world, she already feels the shift, something altered, something uncertain. At that moment, her attention is abruptly captured by a man, shouting for everyone to open ears and listen. Celia turns her gaze toward him and notices one particular trunk that stands out, far larger than the others surrounding it. Her observation skill, recently upgraded due to her earlier system purchases, activates instinctively. Through it, she perceives a detail she wishes she had not noticed. The lock is tangled with strands of human hair, and inside the box, concealed beneath layers of cloth, is a small boy. She wonders whether the strands she has seen are real hair, truly real, and immediately tries to convince herself that she must be mistaken. Yet the system interrupts her denial, informing her that because of the booster she purchased, her observation level is currently operating at its absolute peak. This revelation leaves her stunned, and she begins questioning why the system insists on doing this to her. The box is far too small to contain an adult man. Therefore, the only possible conclusion is that a child is inside. The realization sends her spiraling into panic. The situation is insane, and she has no idea what she is supposed to do next. The danger level of this world had been classified early on, but she had never imagined that its inhabitants would commit such a deranged and unforgivable crime. At present, she possesses only a single-use fog generator, an item that, when activated, will rob everyone except her of their sight. She recalls that she happens to have the perfect tool for this moment. Determined, she hurls the tiny device, deciding that just this once, she will stick her nose into business that does not belong to her. Inside the ship, the man carrying the trunk wonders aloud where they should place it, and concludes they ought to show it to their boss first. His companion disagrees, reminding him that the boss ordered them simply to drop it off somewhere nearby. The second man refuses to check the contents personally, claiming that he feels uneasy even for accepting the job in the first place, and admits that the so-called item has been troubling him ever since he carried it aboard. Before their bickering continues, both men notice something gleaming overhead. A moment later, the fog generator drops, and a thick wave of mist sweeps across the entire area, swallowing the ship in blinding opacity. At the same moment, the little boy inside the trunk sees Celia opening the lid. She signals for him to follow her quietly. Panic erupts throughout the ship as workers shout that someone is attempting to steal cargo and demand that the thief be found immediately. The fog buys Celia precious moments, and she pulls the boy along in what she hopes is a straight path, until someone suddenly seizes her wrist. A stern presence stands beside her, insisting that it is wrong to steal other people's belongings. Celia freezes, wondering what sort of man this is, and how he managed to cut through the fog so effortlessly. His sharp gaze falls upon the child, and he remarks that surely the boy must agree with him. The child recoils in fear, but Celia grips his hand tightly. The red-haired stranger narrows his eyes, studying her, and wondering who could be bold enough to interfere with cargo like this. He is so curious that he wants to see the intruder's face. Celia leaves him no chance. She leans forward and bites his hand without hesitation, then drags the boy into a sprint, announcing that the moment to escape is now. The man watches her vanish into the fog, and mutters that she is surprisingly fast. Later, his underling approaches, apologizing and insisting they will go back to search for the missing item. The red-haired man dismisses the idea, telling him to leave it. From the beginning, he had never been convinced about this job anyway. Still, he wonders who that mysterious woman could be. Deep within a dim alley, Celia finally slows down. She looks over her shoulder, checking whether anyone followed them. Seeing no one, she collapses onto the ground, exhausted. Relief washes through her. She finally survived this ordeal. If not for that dangerous man, she would not have run off in such terror. She rubs her temples and wonders who exactly he is. His presence has the aura of a protagonist strong enough to overshadow even the marquis, yet every time she encounters him, he irritates her beyond comprehension. She opens her system tracking interface, even though she should not need to select any book to interpret this world. Her gaze shifts to the boy beside her, thin to the bone, bruised, malnourished, with jet black hair and wounded eyes. He has the face of someone who will one day grow into a strikingly handsome young man. A boy with black hair sold to a dangerous organization. This is unmistakably the setup for a male protagonist. Then the truth finally clicks in her mind. Could it be that aside from the system tracking she relies on, there are no other stories or written roots in this world at all? All this time, she believed that she had reincarnated into her stepmother's daughter, living out the life she thought was meant for her. Yet now, an unsettling thought gnaws at her. What if this world is not simply her own story, but a tangled crossover of multiple tales, and she has unwittingly been caught in the middle, a mere observer, while the main characters maneuver toward their happy endings? The possibility terrifies her, for if she is still meant to lead, then that means Damon, the boy who seems out of place, out of time, might be a main character from an entirely different narrative. And if multiple stories are intertwined like this, the likelihood of Celia being dragged into increasingly chaotic scenarios escalates sharply. She realizes she is already far too entangled to extricate herself easily. Celia exhales deeply, her mind racing with the implications. What is she even supposed to do now? If this boy is indeed a main character from another story, she might have inadvertently disrupted a world she knows nothing about. She rises, determined to confront the uncertainty directly. Her first step is simple. She will ask him his name. When she does, he replies with only Damon. Unsatisfied, she presses further, asking for his full name, including his surname. To her unease, he admits that he does not have one. A shiver runs down her spine as a premonition of trouble settles in her chest, amplified by those unsettling eyes. She inquires next where he lives, only to be met with another empty answer. He has nowhere to call home. Her questions continue, probing for parents, guardians, any figure of responsibility, but the responses remain disturbingly consistent. He has none. Celia feels the weight of her predicament. The realization dawns with chilling clarity. He is the archetype of the wandering, broken child, destined to cling to the female lead and eventually evolve into the possessive male lead. This is not a background character. He is at least a secondary male lead, and there is no way someone like her, a background extra with no inherent authority or protection, should be responsible for him. Her only logical conclusion is that he must be returned to his original story, to the path where he belongs. Yet, she finds herself paralyzed by uncertainty. How does one send a main character back to his own narrative? And, more urgently, she must know whether he has anywhere to go, only for him to tremble slightly at the question. She begins to wonder if she has acted too hastily. Even if he is a main character, At this moment he is just a lonely child with no one. Gently, she extends her hand to him, silently offering him a place to stay, a chance to come home with her. The scene then shifts to her old, shabby apartment, where she sits in front of the fireplace, utterly drained. She is certain that the situation with Chelsea will be resolved by tomorrow. For now, she only needs to rest. She lies down on the cold floor, thoughts swirling in her head, questioning her own suitability for this role. In her previous life, she had come from an orphanage, devoid of connections or privilege. No matter how hard she worked, she could never secure a stable job. And every day was an endless grind, with no home, no security, no one to rely on. The worst of it, perhaps, was the crushing sense that she was unnecessary to the world, that her existence mattered to no one. Perhaps this is why she became so obsessed with transmigration novels. Within those stories, every character, no matter how small, had a purpose, a place where they mattered. They were needed, their laughter and tears contributing to something greater, and this offered her the solace she could never find in her previous life. When she first realized she had transmigrated, it felt as if she had finally discovered a role just for her, a place in a world that needed her. Yet fate proves cruelly ironic. Instead of a meaningful, respected position, she finds herself chasing runaway heroines down dark alleys, caught up in chaotic events that spiral out of control. And now she is once again thrust into a scenario demanding her to solve problems without cheat powers, without guidance. A detective in a transmigration, without Sherlock's brilliance, juggling insufficient resources, pop-up challenges, and quiz-like puzzles imposed by some invisible system. She cries out internally, questioning whether this is acceptable, whether this is truly what her role is supposed to be. Her attention shifts as she notices Damon, whose sudden presence startles her. When did he arrive? At least, she thinks, he should say something. He explains, in his quiet, unsettling way, that he has just finished washing, though his remark about water droplets on wood potentially causing mold leaves her even more uneasy. She worries that if he does not dry his hair properly, he might catch a cold. Prompted by this concern, she asks him to sit by the stove so she can dry his hair herself. He begins to rub his hair with a towel, mimicking her actions, and Celia cannot help but notice how poorly he does it. Even a kitten would manage better. Gently, she takes the towel from him, telling him to relax. The touch of her hands, the warmth, seems to fluster him slightly. He murmurs that she does not need to do this, though when she asks him to clarify, he admits that if she wants anything done, he will do it without question, so long as it is not murder. Damien suddenly pleads for Celia to take him in, leaving her bewildered by the abruptness of his request. She internally questions what has brought this on. She explains that he must be misunderstanding something, because she saved him only because he seemed to be in danger. She expects nothing in return. All he needs to do is rest until daybreak, then leave comfortably. Yet the moment she finishes, Damien rises and walks toward the pile of trash in her room. Confusion strikes her as she watches him, wondering what he is trying to do. He responds that he is cleaning, but the suddenness of it unsettles her. She calls out to him repeatedly, insisting she never asked him to do such a thing, yet he continues without listening. When he reaches for the broken glass box on the floor, she immediately pushes his hand away, alarmed that he will injure himself. She insists on handling it herself, but his next words cut her unexpectedly deeply. He believes that because she saw the mess like this, she must have decided she wasn't going to clean it. She tries to reassure him again that it is not his job, that he should simply rest. Youth does not stop. He lowers his head, shoulders drawn in, declaring that he does not need rest. He believes she will abandon him because he is useless, and therefore he must prove his worth to her. His clenched fists tremble in the silence that follows, a silence that makes her uneasy. She looks down at his hands, small, chapped, and painfully rough. She sighs softly, noting that she has just washed him, yet he is already covered in dirt again. As she examines those hands, she wonders what kind of suffering a child must endure to be so worn down, and why he clings to someone he only just met. She throws aside the cloth she had been using, realizing it is too tattered to help, and apologizes to him. But Damien once again begs her to take him in, insisting that being used is better than being abandoned for being useless. The plea unsettles her even more. She can feel how deeply he has carved this idea into himself, how firmly he has created this place of unworthiness within his own mind. She thinks that even if she wanted to take him in, Damien Before she can finish the thought, he interrupts with another desperate promise. He insists that he does not cost much to feed, and she could even work him without pay. Her heart aches at the realization that he truly believes she is worried about such things. She knows she can afford to care for him, and his desperation only makes the truth more painful. She exhales and reminds him that he claimed he would do anything. Then she tells him what she expects. He must look at the bread on the table, spread jam on it, and eat it. When he is full, he must sleep in the room with the bed, because a child's job is simple. Eat good food, play happily, and sleep peacefully. That is all he needs to do. With that, she turns away, telling him they will see each other tomorrow, and she will check if he has done everything when she wakes. The words make him twitch faintly, as if the gentle command is almost foreign to him. That night, as Damon lies in bed, he realizes this is the first time he has received such an easy instruction. His memories drift back to when he first arrived under his previous owner. The man had introduced himself as Damon's new master and told him to observe closely, because this world of violence and bloodshed was all Damon was useful for. If he did not want to be abandoned and thrown back onto the streets, he was to obey without question. The scene shifts in his memory to the red-haired man who had assessed Damon with cold indifference, remarking that the boy still looked too much like a child. One of his subordinates asked what they should do about him. Damon had wanted them to simply kill him, but the red-haired man only ordered them to place him in a rough wooden box, because there was nothing else to be done with him. That was the moment Celia appeared, approaching quietly, telling him to follow her, pulling him out of that world and leading him far away from those chains. He still does not know what she wants from him. He fully believes that, in time, she will change just as his past owners had, or she will eventually find him as bothersome as the rest of them did. Yet even with that fear lingering in him, he still hopes, quietly, timidly, that he will be allowed to remain here when tomorrow comes. Celia lies sprawled on her dusty sofa, her mind a jumble of thoughts. She wonders if this is what it feels like to truly understand how Damon feels. Yet it's obvious to anyone observing that he belongs to the narrative of a completely different novel. She cannot allow herself to get involved, cannot be the one to ensnare him, for what if her interference alters the story, causes a collision with the female lead meant for him? And then there is the undeniable impression he gives. He looks as if he might transform into a clingy male lead at any moment, and Celia cannot afford to be overly accommodating or kind. Anxiety spirals within her. How can she make him leave? How can she compel him to walk out on his own accord? Suddenly, a screen flickers into existence, delivering a message as if to mock her inner turmoil. It declares that a book recommendation for the overly anxious has arrived, its title glaring back at her. Obsession and escape are only a paper width apart. Morning seeps through the window as she remains absorbed in the text, questioning why, of all things, this book is so interminably long. Hours pass unnoticed, until Damon himself appears, his presence startling her. She stumbles over her own words upon noticing he is already awake. Concern colors his gaze, and he asks after her well-being, addressing her as master. Straightening herself, she clarifies her identity. She is Celia, head of a detective agency, and as he will be working there under her guidance, he should address her as director. The practicality of the situation dawns on her. After all, he had requested to be taken in, and she can, for the moment, utilize him as an assistant. Who else would accept a character like him if not her? Her mind, ever strategic, recalls the book's advice on subtle manipulation. She decides to experiment. Taking up her clock as a prop, she states that as his supervisor, she will provide him with room and board and even a modest compensation. Damon is taken aback by the notion that she is paying him, yet her voice carries a gentle, strategic edge. Naturally, there are conditions. He cannot leave the office without her express permission. Her reasoning is that an assistant should not draw attention from others. Instead, he should remain at home, waiting quietly. Should boredom strike, he is to occupy himself with a book or some similar activity. Confusion flickers across his expression, but she senses the tactic is working. Later, Celia walks along a path, her thoughts tethered to the novel she had been reading. She reflects on the strategy she employed, offering seemingly favorable conditions, isolating him, keeping him close. She questions whether it is truly ethical, but her calculations suggest that if Damon does not flee, she will pursue the author herself. Observing his flustered reactions, she feels a flutter of satisfaction, noting how endearingly cute he appears, much like a web novel male lead. His black hair and striking purple eyes match her personal preference perfectly. Were he not a male lead, she muses, she might have taken the money she left for him outside the front door and pocketed it herself. Yet she also realizes the bitter truth. Once Damon departs, where else could she find another dark-haired, alluring young man like him? Before her, the marquis appears, his glare sharp and purposeful. He muses that it is time to locate Chelsea, and in that instant, Celia perceives another dark-haired male lead. She reassures him that Chelsea has already been found, waiting in the greenhouse, precisely as Celia described. Chelsea enters the greenhouse, with a mind heavy with past recollections. After her parents passed away, she had been entrusted to her uncle, who insisted she consume strange fruits he provided. Although her living conditions were cramped and filled with ceaseless chores, the fruits invigorated her, giving her energy when she felt weakest. Her uncle always claimed she was frail and required the fruit to restore her health. Chelsea questioned the truth of his assertions, receiving affirmative words from him, though his smirk and penetrating glare suggested hidden motives. Her uncle's son, observing the routine, once remarked on the fruit, but her uncle silenced him, leaving Chelsea to wonder if the attention was born from care or something more personal, perhaps affection. Even after her marriage, her uncle continued to send her the fruit, which she generously shared with the marquis's mother when illness struck. Chelsea felt a similar surge of energy when consuming the fruit herself, yet she began to sense the subtle poison within. Her uncle confided that he could not procure more that month, prompting her to consider cultivating the fruit independently. Yet upon inspection, she found that everything except the sprouting fruit had dried and died. Turning the pages of her book, her eyes widened in horror as she discovered that the seeds she had relied upon were cursed, the fruit imbued with a potent toxin that absorbed life from its surroundings to thrive. Chelsea trembles as she reads, though she tries to convince herself that everything will be fine. No one could possibly consume as much as she had, yet she had given an especially large portion to Mark's mother. Her hands shake as panic rises. She must inform someone immediately. But just then, the maid arrives, delivering the devastating news that Mark's mother has passed away. After the funeral, the marquis had ordered the servants not to touch the bookshelf, for those were the books she cherished most. Chelsea feels the weight of guilt crush her. She believes it is all her fault and resolves that she must confess to the marquis, must now bow weakly and accept the punishment for her transgressions. Yet when she looks at his glaring face, she cannot bring herself to speak and turns away. The marquis studies Chelsea's anxious hands and finally calls out to her. Before she can respond, the maid interrupts, informing them that the marchioness has left 2 letters, one addressed to the marquis and the other to Chelsea. Chelsea wonders in disbelief if a letter was truly meant for her. She opens it, her heart racing, and reads the words from the marchioness, her beloved mother. She expresses that the time spent with Chelsea was a true blessing, and she knows it was the same for the marquis. There is a single request: Chelsea must cultivate the spirit herbs. Though the marchioness had failed, she believed that Chelsea would succeed. She had left her gardening journal specifically for Chelsea, entrusting her with this final wish. Chelsea's guilt swells. She believes her mother's death is somehow her fault. And yet, despite her passing, the marchioness has left behind her journal and her hopes. Chelsea doubts her own ability. How could she possibly cultivate the spirit herb when her confidence is so fragile? But she knows that if she is to atone for her perceived sins, she must fulfill this last wish. Now in the greenhouse, she faces the spirit bloom, a flower of breathtaking beauty that reveals its glory only in full bloom. The plant is notoriously fickle, exceedingly particular about the person who tends to it. Chelsea follows the guidance of the gardening journal, working diligently, yet every attempt seems to falter. Instead of hope, fear takes root, and with each failure, guilt grows heavier. She forces herself to persist, relieved only that her other plants remain healthy. If she could just succeed in cultivating this one innermost bloom. It is at this moment that she is called by the marquis. Startled, she stumbles back, asking how he knew. He questions her, observing the deep resentment she seems to hold for him, asking if that is why she had discarded everything he had given her and had left, unable even to bear his presence. Chelsea insists that it is not so. He reaches out toward her, demanding to understand why she has acted so foolishly, why something he values so dearly, the wealth, the care, the bond, was cast aside so thoughtlessly. Chelsea has never seen such an expression on the marquis's face. Her eyes well with tears as she declares that it is not his fault, it is all her own mistake. Overwhelmed, she collapses to the ground, crying, convinced that everything is her fault, yet the Marquis kneels beside her, insisting that the Marchioness's death was not her fault. She had known, and had forgiven her already. Chelsea struggles to comprehend, but he explains that at first, he had not fully understood the Marchioness's will. Now, through the letter it is clear, she had asked him to take better care of Chelsea, for he is still far from being the husband she needs. Chelsea has long harbored thoughts she could not voice, feelings she could not share, and burdens she could not reveal. The Marchioness knew better than anyone how short her time would be, and absolved Chelsea of all blame. The Marquis tells her that if he had truly tried to understand the will sooner, he would have helped her bear her burdens more openly, and she would not have suffered so. All of this is his fault, he admits, for not acting sooner. During her absence, it felt as if his soul had been hollowed out. He confesses that he cannot live without her, and, with trembling hands, produces a ring box. He asks for her forgiveness, not for a marriage bound by contract, but for one founded on truth, one in which he wishes to spend his entire life by her side. Chelsea protests, aware of her terminal condition and her addiction to the cursed fruit. He assures her, unwavering, that he will find a way. No matter the method, no matter the herb or healer, he will not let her die. Overcome with emotion, Chelsea clings to him, weeping, apologizing, confessing that even the Marchioness never told her how dangerous the fruit was. From behind, Celia steps forward, revealing that she was the one who informed him, having witnessed everything firsthand. Deeply moved, Celia sheds tears as she watches the reunion unfold, a devoted observer of the lives entwined before her. Chelsea, still in shock, asks who Celia is, sensing a strange familiarity despite never having met her. The Marquis glares at Celia, questioning why she has not yet left. Celia responds that it is nearly midnight, leaving Chelsea momentarily confused. Seeing Chelsea walk toward the door fills her with immense joy. Today, finally, they are about to go, and there is definitely 200 cash left inside, the only place in the greenhouse they have yet to investigate. Her excitement bubbles over as she urges Chelsea to hurry and open it. Chelsea, however, hesitates, a flicker of reluctance in her movements. The Marquis notices and gently takes her hand, smiling warmly, offering her a sliver of hope. Encouraged by his presence, Chelsea finally opens the door. As the three of them step into the greenhouse, Celia wonders why the late Marchioness would leave a will asking Chelsea to grow the spirit herb. Could it be as simple as wanting Chelsea herself to cultivate it? In her recollection of the novel, the spirit herb seemed to hold significant importance. Celia had spent all her cash at La Follette trading ports, unable even to witness the story's ending. Now there is only one way to uncover the truth. Chelsea pulls back the curtain and is met with a breathtaking view of flowers, their colors vivid and radiant. The sight overwhelms her, and tears spring to her eyes. She sinks to the ground, overwhelmed by emotion, thinking that if her mother had seen this beauty, she would have been so happy. Chelsea regrets her past actions, wishing she had not done useless things, and that her mother had lived just a little longer to see the joy surrounding her. Observing Chelsea and the Marquis, entwined and tender, Celia thinks she has finally succeeded. She smiles, feeling relief and satisfaction. Yet her attention is drawn to a troubling thought. Why is there no cash appearing anywhere? She cannot believe the story could end so abruptly. Frustration bubbles up, and she cries out, convinced the author must be joking. How could such a crucial part be omitted? How absurd. How lame. Before she can dwell further, the system pops up, announcing that the spirit herb has finally bloomed and presenting Celia with a gift. Elated, she calls out to Chelsea, explaining that they have found a way for her to live. The Marquis, puzzled, asks her what she means. Celia explains that the spirit herb produces a dewdrop every morning for the person it recognizes as its master. This dewdrop has detoxifying and healing properties. When consumed regularly, it can cure her poisoning symptoms. The Marquis begins to understand and recalls the intention behind their mother's care. She had hoped that Chelsea and her son would always be happy, and the spirit herb was her final way to ensure that. Chelsea watches, tears streaming, overwhelmed by the love and foresight of her mother. Finally, in the garage, Celia departs, receiving a congratulatory notification that her job rank has increased for completing the main quest. She is overjoyed. The journey is finally over, and the ending is beautiful. A small pang of disappointment lingers because she cannot witness the refreshing revenge portion, but she reflects that where else could she have observed such an incredible story of the regretful male lead and devoted female lead firsthand. She feels a quiet pride. She has been possessed, earned money, and read web novels. This is pure profit. Celia's mind drifts to wonder about the next male lead she will encounter. She prefers black-haired heroes, yet her thoughts are abruptly interrupted as she remembers Damon. Her panic and excitement spiral out of control. She shouts, exclaiming how she could have forgotten him.